What's going on? Welcome back to 710 Garage. So here we are, and we're back on the man lift, as you can see here behind me. This thing, we did some modifications to it. I moved the kill switch and everything over and put a little digital voltmeter and stuff on there, and now it decided that it didn't want to charge anymore. So we're going to, 1, investigate that, 2, hopefully fix it, and 3, I'm going to move that switch over because I think that's what actually caused all of this stuff. I'll show you. So let's go and jump over. I'll show you what we got going on and see if we can get this thing fixed up. So if you remember, this is our battery charger that I have mounted in the unit. Our power wire for it comes out here, and I just plug in here at the back. And then the 24 volt, this is your 110 side, your 24 volt side here goes out underneath this way and over to the other side where the batteries are located. Well, this thing, it used to, when you plugged it in, it used to have some LED lights in here that would go on and off and tell you roughly where you're at for charge, and it stopped working. Now when you go to plug it in, it doesn't come on, it doesn't do anything, telling me that there's a problem. So I looked into it a little bit further, and let me bring you around this side, and I think I figured it out. Looking at the back side of the unit, this is the 24 volt side, like I was saying. If you look way down here at the bottom, you have these 2 bolts right here. Now those 2 bolts are supposed to have a fuse in them. And I got this fuse, I guess there's 2 in here, but I got this, a spare couple of these, so I don't know, 1, if it's me that caused the problem for that fuse to blow, or 2, it's just common with this thing for God knows what reason. So this is the fuse here. It's basically just a piece of like tin, real thin tin, and what it does is it bolts in between these 2 bolts here, one there and one there. Well, these are kind of a pain in the butt to get. I did end up calling around, trying to figure out where I could get them, and it seems like it's not as easy as I would hope. So this is what's left of the old one. Just a couple pieces here. It's kind of melted the whole center of it out. This thing says that it's 50 amps, 50. So yeah, basically all I need is any 50 amp fuse. So what my plan is I used to be big into stereos when I was a little younger, and I have these big monster fuses. Well, these things you can get at, you know, Amazon, any hardware store, anything like that. So I have some old wiring. You know, I'm just gonna run a 4 gauge. It's a lot bigger than having that little fuse in there. So my plan is to run a little 4 gauge wire out here. I don't know how I'm gonna mount this thing, if I mount it in here like this, or, you know, I kind of mount it to the base of the unit outside. I haven't figured that part out yet, but the plan is anyways to use one of these, as they are super readily available, and I shouldn't have this problem again if the fuse ever goes. So the only fuse that I have right now is a 150 amp, so it's way higher than what used to be in here, but I believe the only reason that they have a fuse here is so if you short out the other side, it'll pop. So we're going to throw this one in for now and just kind of test my theory. I do have a 50 amp that's coming to go in here, and when it shows up, obviously I'll just drop it in. So we're going to go ahead, get this thing on, and then we're going to go to the other side, and I want to modify the 2 kill switches that I have for the charger and for the machine itself. So yeah, let's get to it. Alrighty, so let's see, we got a whole bunch of supplies here. I got wire strippers, cutters, a knife, some heat shrink, my super awesome Amazon battery crimper. I'll throw a link in the description for that. I use this thing all the time, as you'll see. These are my hose cutters for the heat shielding. A couple terminal ends. A little, I don't know, 2-foot piece of wire that I found. A couple screwdrivers for the fuse holder, and a hammer. So yeah, we should be good to go. First we're going to pull this cover off and get down into the guts of this fuse here. I think what I'm going to end up doing is just cutting that wire in half. It's a lot more than I need wire-wise on there, but like I said, I found this, you know, I don't really have a huge use for it right now, so yeah. A little bit more is not going to hurt anything. It's underneath that super cover that we made, so you're not really going to see it. And if I ever want to move that fuse at some point in the future. All right, so we got it cut. Now this thing just jabs into the end of the fuse, as you can see here. So I only need a terminal on one end. The other end's going to go in here and just kind of get crimped down. And yeah, once I put those two terminals on, we'll be good to go. So my plan is, like you've seen me do a million times, so just line this thing up beside that terminal. That'll show us where we need to cut this. Do as I say, not as I do. I stripped this thing double long. We're gonna fold it over and then put it in here to kind of take up some more of that lug, because that's the lug that I have. So that's the lug we're gonna use. So as you can see here, just rolled it over. Now that's a good fit into this lug, and we're going to crimp it. We'll do the other one here real fast. Okay, so there you go. You can see my loop here with the fuse on it down here. I know it doesn't look that pretty, but this is just to test and make sure. I think that's what's wrong. So usually if you have a battery charger like this, or any battery charger, if it stops working, you know, it's gonna have a fuse somewhere. So for us, we already had this cover off. If we didn't, you'd pull the cover, see if there's a fuse that was blown, and yeah, I think we're off to the races. So let's jump to the other side. I want to change a little bit of the wiring over there, and like I said, I want to change the on-off switches, and then we're gonna plug this thing in and see if we fixed it. Let's get to it. So here we are on the driver's side, if you will, of the machine, and I have my two switches. This outside one is for the machine itself, and the inside was for the charger. And what I believe happened is this switch here is really close to the framework that we screwed this top down to, and I believe what happened is the terminal touched that frame and ground it out. So my plan now is to take a grinder, and I'm going to cut right down this edge here, and I'd like to flip the panel, reverse it, so we'll have this larger area on this side and the smaller area on this side. Now when I do it, I'm going to switch the two switches around so the outside one is still the lift itself, and the inside one will still be the charger, but I think that's going to help. And then what I'll do is I'll just self-tapper this plate, this end plate here, into that frame like we did the top cover, and that should be good. So yeah, I'm going to go grab a grinder and lip down this edge here, and once we get that done, I'm going to change a little bit of the wiring up here on the top, which we will take you through. So yeah, let's pull that cover off and get to it. So we got our cover off here, and all the wiring in this area is junk, so yeah, let's cut to doing that. We decided to get fancy, and we're gonna nut and bolt this cover on. Not really sure why, but that's what we're gonna do. So there you go. All I did was roll it over the other way. Now it's way tucked down in the back there. I can see all my connections. So if myself or my father or anybody opens this thing up, it's real easy to see where all these wires go, which is sometimes half the battle. Okay, we're going to tighten these two outside nuts here to stop the switch itself from turning. there you go. So now, as you saw, we upgraded all the wiring between the batteries all the way down to the ground. We updated the wiring from the battery to the kill switch for the machine. We updated the wiring from the other side of the kill switch down over to the pump. We then upgraded from the pump to the ground on the other side, and then we put a switch in here to get rid of that male-female quick connect plug that used to go from the charger to the battery. So now this is always hooked up. If you flick this switch, turn it, it will then allow the charger to charge the battery. When you're done, you just flick the switch off, and then this one kills the machine or allows the machine to run. So let's jump over to the other side and we'll hit the switch and just see if we have any power. All right, so now we got all of our upgraded wiring done. We're back over here to this side. What I'm gonna do is plug the charger in here. So there you go. Now you saw some of our lights go on, but it can't charge our battery right now because I have the switch off. Let me go jump that on. I can hear the battery charger humming. All right, so now you can see that the batteries are roughly halfway charged. And this top light is 10% to 80%, which is crazy to me. You have 80 to 99, and then stop, that's just kind of like its hold charge. So as you can see now, if I go here, we have our fuse in line there, and I don't want to touch that. That's 24 volt DC, that'll definitely hurt. So this is actually working well. The only thing that was wrong with this charger was a bad fuse. So, saved ourselves a bit of money here, pulling this thing apart, pulling the cover off, and checking it out. And then, as you can see, what I did was I just coiled up the extension cord and plugged it in right there. So now this thing will go ahead and charge as long as the kill switch on the other side, as long as that inside kill switch right there is turned. As soon as I turn that off, it will only charge up to the switch. It won't go through the switch to the batteries. So we'll leave that on. We'll get this thing charged up. And then this kill switch here, once you flick that, that allows the machine to actually function. So it's a little bit smarter for me to have this plate separate. You see from the footage there when I did all the wiring that I had to reach behind to do these connections here and here, and it was kind of a pain in the butt. So it is actually a better design, but it is what it is. So we're going to throw the cover back on this side. I have the other cover up inside the machine right now that covers this whole side in, and yeah, we're gonna call this one a success. So there you go. I mean, it's pretty easy mechanical stuff if you know what you're looking for. Most anything has a fuse in it, so check that first. What was the harm in trying to do this? If it didn't work, I'd have to take the charger out and take it to a repair shop, have them look it over. But I don't want to get charged a service fee or something over a $4 fuse. So we tried it and it worked out good. Now, if you haven't done it before, look down in the description of all the videos, and that shows you our sponsor list. It shows you our Patreon page if you want to make a donation to the channel, which always helps. It also shows you a Teespring link, and Teespring has a whole bunch of shirts, hats, mugs, backpacks, whatever. You can use, support the channel if you buy a shirt or something on there. So the other thing are these hats. 710 hats. I have a bunch of these things here. These come from a different vendor than Teespring. So if you like these hats, I have a bunch of different colors. They're all a black hat, but I have a bunch of different color logos and everything. Just shoot us a DM, Instagram or Facebook, official 710 Garage, and we'll be sure to make sure we can get that out for you. And we also have shirts coming. So again, if you like to support the channel, all the proceeds from all this stuff goes back in the channel to help make content for you guys.